A quick video on Browning Business Band Amplifiers. They were made back in the late 50s, early 60s, back when Business Band was legal on basically 27 megahertz on a few channels, and Browning marketed some Browning amplifiers strictly for business band back then, but coincidentally the same frequencies that the business band work on were the same that the CB used, so they could be used for CB even though illegally. But Browning make a few different models, but they're basically the same amp with different cosmetics, different looks. And let's start over here with the first model they put out, the Browning Mark 100, and it's got the older style light bulbs, and it's got the power switches there, whereas all the rest of them, the later ones, got the newer style lights, and they use a rotary switch instead of the two regular push button switches. And other than that, and the looks and the color and the styling a little bit, and the 170 is a mobile amp, and it's a little bit shorter than the rest of them. I think because mobile amps can use a smaller transformer because of the way they work to get the same amount of power than an AC home amp. So that's the transformer in all the home base AC powered amps, and you can see the height of it compared to the lower, smaller DC switching power supply or chopper transformer there. So the chassis is quite a bit lower on the 170 DC amp. But other than that, that's the 180 Mark II amp, and that's the 180 Mark III amp, and that's the 100 again. And other than the styling, color, paint job, cosmetics, they're basically all the same amp. So that's the 100, the shorter 170, the Mark 1 or 2 180, the cosmetics and the knobs and color stream colors match the Mark 1 and Mark 2 radios. And then the Mark 3 radio, which was that color, they changed the color and the knobs to match the Mark 3 radio. And this one here, I only dug out a second Mark 3 180 because a common problem with these is that they only put out 50-70 watts or so, and they have a little small transformer there, and all that transformer is good for is about 75 watts, and people drive them and push them, and of course, just like the little Black Cat amps, they can get more out of them for a minute, but it's not going to last long, and they blow the transformer. So this is just a Mark III 180 I had that had a bad transformer, and I replaced the transformer in it, and I just removed the original from the top, and I put in a bigger, heavier duty toroid down here underneath. So basically that's like a 7500 watt transformer, and that's a 200 watt transformer. Now mind you, because of efficiency, you only get out about half power output of what the transformer is rated at, meaning that if you got a 100 watt transformer, you only got to get about 50 watts out of it before you start having problems. But anyway, that's the 180 with the toroid on the bottom that I redone. And up here on top, That's the Mark III 180 here on the right. The Mark II 1 or 2 180 here. And basically the only difference is the cosmetics, mainly the color and the knobs. Over here is the 170 DC amp, and other than the height and the DC transformer, and this relay here is the chopper or switching relay that buzzes and chops up the DC and the AC and then feeds it into the transformer there. That's how that works. But other than that, and also the DC amp, since it's basically, you know, made to go in the back of a car and all that, the capacitors, the tune and load here, are screwdriver adjusted. So, you know, you adjust it and then you forget about it. You're not like at a base fiddling it with it all the time. So they're screwdriver adjustment instead of a knob turn like the rest. And then over here is the Mark 100, which is basically the same amp over here as the 180s. Just matches the earlier Brownings. You know, 2 small sweet tubes, 9-pin. And one more thing while I'm thinking about it, a lot of people, you know, see the little small tube there and they go like, oh, that's a driver tube. Yeah, there are some amps that uses driver tubes, but most of the time when you see a little small tube like that, that's not connected to the power circuit at all. All that does is key to relay. That's a relay keying tube. In early amps, before transistors were popular and ruled the world, they used tubes to key the relay. So when you key or have input into this amplifier and it's on, what keys the relay is some of the power is sampled by that small tube there. And when the tube senses the input power, it closes basically the or lets the power go through for the relay. There, it keys up the relay. It's a keying tube, not a driver tube at all. And actually in the DC version 170, it does not have that tube because it uses a transistor keying circuit, which is underneath the amp. So no keying tube for it, but all the rest of them have the keying tube. And one more thing I found, this latest version, it has a 6AQ5 keying tube, where all the rest have the 6BQ5. I don't know why they changed that. Maybe because 6BQ5's got expensive. But anyway, that's going to be it for this quick demo of the insides of Browning Business Band Amplifiers. The 100, the DC 170, the Mark 1 and 2 180, and the Mark III 180 here. And last, we're just going to go to the front again. 180 Mark III, 180 Mark 1 and 2. Just different cosmetics. 170 DC for the mobile car, a little shorter, and has the set screws for the tune and load output. And then over here the Mark 100 for the earlier Brownings. The early Brownings had knobs, or not knobs, I'm sorry, lights similar to these or like these. And then when Browning went to the radios with the lights like this, they changed the amp from the lights like these to the lights like this to match the radios. So that's it of this demo of Browning Golden Eagle Business Band Amplifiers. Bye.